Here we go. We rock and rolling.
Here we go.
Hi everyone. So we have a little funny moment. So before we properly start, we're just going to have a little bit of a chit chat. So here is Moonlight Soul, and here is my co-host Adrienne Gibson, and we're going to be talking about eclipse in a moment. But first, we're just going to see where this conversation is going to take us. So I
Yeah.
welcome you, Adrienne,
Well, thank you. It's glad to be here.
and it's
The
glad to
funny
be in your
thing about
house.
it, the funny thing about it is that Mila is in the next room with the door closed, so we don't have any reverberation.
Exactly.
Um, but I think this was the easiest way for us to record like we're
Absolutely.
doing. So
And we thought we're going to
fun.
mix things up a little bit because this lunar eclipse in Pisces is not giving us much.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to have some themes, but it's been difficult to decipher. So
It sounds like Neptune, yes.
yeah, Neptune, I'm sure that Saturn is playing a role here as well. And yeah,
Yeah, like we were saying, it is because what I'm intuiting, which we think that this whole eclipse is starting us on the track of you need to intuit it because if we
yes,
are reconnecting with our higher self, so it's all about um, it might not make sense to logical mind and we might not get the logical answers we are seeking. We need to tune in, and what we tune into will be different for different people.
yeah, I love that. It'll be like what your mind is aware of and is attuned to that you'll find your focus. And it's so interesting. It's like, oh, I don't know. I mean, I could give a good example, but it's like if your mind is attuned to like the awakening, then the way that I see the world is that's always what's happening. If you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at the world like everything is falling apart and it's all doom and gloom, that is what you'll see and that is what you'll react to.
And that's exactly the Jupiter in Gemini. You choose.
Yes,
And Mercury being, we just looked, Mercury being on Capricorn, Deacon of Virgo, which is that, yeah, you take the responsibility for the perceptions and identification that then going to determine your experience.
exactly. Exactly. So I mean, it's the case to me when if your mind is used to following a negative pathway, or, where it's always blame to the outside or something like that, there's always some sort of negativity, that's what's going to pop up for you. So, yeah.
Yeah, like somebody, I know I read it somewhere when somebody said that, and I wish I could give credit, but I really don't remember who said it, that you don't like see reality as it is, but as you are.
Wow. I love
we
that.
we experience the reality not the way it is, but as we are, because it's a
Yes.
projection and reflection.
Yes. So I think that this moon, and here in a minute we'll bring up the chart, but I think that this full moon is like the beginning of us shifting, or maybe it's a joining of the right brain and the left brain, where, throughout as much of the history as we know, it's been our cultures are left brain, particularly in the West.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't know how they are in the East, probably a little bit more right brain, but I think just in general, all the cultures now are pretty left brain. Everybody's, doing industry and computers and AI and all these things. These are all left brain types of thinking, logical, following a pattern. That is, but the right brain is a little bit different. The right brain is flowy. I remember how it was described to me in the very beginning, in the beginning of my study, was that you'll have these points of reality that are very left brain, like, you know, if I drop the apple will fall. And then you'll have another situation, and then the right brain will link the two without having something to pin it on. Like it's like it connects the different spots, the different points of reality of the left brain. The right brain kind of threads them all together into a belief.
That sounds very Aquarian.
A truth that you would follow. Yeah. And so, but it's flowy, this is the kind of knowing that but it's not anything that you studied or anything like that. It's not left brain. It's just something that flows in. So I think it's linked. Yeah, I link it with even Pisces, that higher mind. And it's also something that we don't really use very often. I mean, if you're an artist or any kind of artist, singer, any kind of artistic expression, you tend to use the right brain. I mean, there are definitely some left brain musicians out there. My mother was definitely very left brain. She didn't take the music that she was playing and flower it up to her own flavor, which would have been right brain, but she followed the notes exactly, and the attempt was to play it exactly as it was written. So both sides are there, but I think that the intuitive side, this part that knows that there's something beyond this physical realm, is something that we have to develop as we move forward.
Yeah, it's just like what came to me was that, what we perceive is the ending, but the ending is the beginning. As we know in astrology, from 12th house, you go back in the first house, and it is this continuous spiral of evolution. So like always what I get the visual kind of, it's like, that the world that we known and that is still existing at the moment, it's literally like metamorphizing, like shape-shifting, like shifting in front of our eyes into something completely different. And the different will be much more connected with the invisible world than the visible world, because we know that the material manifestation of the energy is the least of a percentage. It's like very miniature percent, like I really don't know, it's like 1 or 2% or something of all there is that is manifested in a form. But I feel that the reality that we are being gently pushed into, especially with this eclipse, which is completely, like why we have lunar eclipse in Pisces when the nodes are still in Aries and Libra. It's like why. And then why do we have Aries eclipse in March when the nodes are already in Libra, in Virgo and Pisces. So we have all this breaking of the pattern. Even the astrology is showing us that the things that are at the moment manifested and we are heavily relying on, because they are the structure of the reality as we know in, everything is shifting, everything is changing form and shape. And this is, I feel that the reality that we will be creating and experiencing going forward will be very connected to the invisible.
Yes, absolutely. And therefore, it requires a developed right brain to be able to perceive the subtle energies that will be becoming more vivid for us.
Yeah, and it's also like honing these extrasensory senses and perceiving situations, not just for what we can see, because we know that our eyes are actually delayed, that what we can, or even sound, like everything is delayed. It's not happening the moment we hear it or we see it. There is a slight delay because of how things travel, right, through time and space. So actually that which we're perceiving, that which people hear me saying right now, it's already a past.
Yep,
By the time we hear it. So that's what I mean. So the entire reality that we are experiencing at the moment, it is not correct because it already happened, right? So it's just like we just could go like literally once we start diving into the Pisces rabbit hole, there is no end to it. And this is what I feel, that you know, just like we were saying when we started talking, that this lunar eclipse in Pisces is not giving us the answer, the logical bunny trail and explanations, because this is the beginning, this is the end and the beginning of the old and the new, where they're intercrossing, you know, there's like an intersection, and the spirit is saying, well, from now on, this is what it's gonna be like. You need to intuit it, like you know, like in the way that is your authentic understanding, because you know Jupiter is in Gemini, squaring the moon. It's saying like, well, whatever is your truth, you know, whatever is your truth, that's what you see manifested. And this Mars squaring the nodes, and Mars is in Cancer, so it's again about the intuition and deciding for yourself who are you becoming, because based on the role you choose to play, just like you said, do you focus on the negative or positive? Do you think the world is ending or is beginning? Depending on the role you choose to play, that will be your experience. And it is literally like a mind-blowing realization to have so much power, to literally, like with this Capricorn year, with the four lunations in Capricorn, this is literally what the universe is prompting us to embody, that you really have to take the responsibility, because this is how powerful you are, each and every single one of us, to create the reality you want to be experiencing. And it is happening. It is literally happening in real time.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. And this is the Pluto through Capricorn. We've been slowly gaining our own power, while the external power is dissolving. And so, yeah, we're just, you know, this retrograde back into Capricorn at the 29 degrees is just to go back and sort of experience these past emotions that flare up and really begin to take responsibility for your emotional reality, because we can't blame it outside of ourselves anymore. We can't project it. I mean, we can, but as we have seen in the world with our current state of affairs in the world, when you project your anger outside, we get all kinds of terrible things that happen.
Well, we just attract more anger, because the like attracts like. We're never going to get anything other than the frequency we putting out there. And this is also like the channel that I received a couple of weeks ago, which I already shared, you know, with you, and also with people, you know, who watch my videos, that it's very simple. You know, you have all this negativity in the world, all this minus, minus, minus. So if you add more minus, you're just gonna have more minus, right? We need to add the plus to neutralize the energy. And once the energy is neutralized, once it's zapped, literally it's like zapped, you know, that's when you can create something different, create something new, because otherwise we'll be continuously just you know, like playing this never-ending game, having this never-ending battle of going in circles, you know, like you did this to me, okay, I do this to you, then we have to reincarnate again, switch roles and try to fix it. So okay, now I'm gonna be the good guy, you're gonna be the bad guy, you know, and then if you get triggered, okay, again we have to switch the roles and try again. And this is how it's been going for thousands of years. And I know that physically, emotionally, spiritually, we are all tired of this. We are sick and tired. This is no longer in resonance with our evolution. It no longer jive with us to live this kind of life. And more people are either unsubscribing from this kind of life and looking for alternative, or are getting sick. There are no other ways. The body either shuts down, or we choose something different,
or moves on.
That's it. So in essence, this lunar eclipse, full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces, it is complex because it encapsulates the entirety of everything that ever was. Is the totality of everything that ever was. But on the other side, it's very simple, because it's saying everything that ever was is now under review. So we are discerning, we are organizing and deciding, okay, yeah, good morals, you know, heart-centered conscious, yeah, we take that with us, you know, like this open heart and stuff. Jealousy, division, separation, war, oh no, this is not resonating anymore, this is something we need to neutralize and leave behind. So yeah, the things are ending, new things are beginning simultaneously, but what that new beginning will be, it's different for different people.
Yep. Yes. So shall we pull up the chart? Because
Yep.
there's more to see, but I think that's like it in a nutshell, and we could just look at the details, huh?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's see if that is the correct chart. Yes,
That's
this
the
is
one.
this is for the East Coast in the US. 10:34 p.m. on the 17th, Tuesday night.
And this time we're going to be experiencing it at the same time.
Yeah, and this time we'll be experiencing it at the same time. And then the eclipse happens several minutes later.
Yeah, it's at 1:45. Exactly 1:45. It's 11 minutes late. And moon will be at 47 minutes.
Okay, so there you go. So yeah, when I first went to look at this chart, I thought, well, this isn't an eclipse. They aren't even in orb. But yeah, it's partial. It's just happening minutes after. So one of the things that I thought when I first looked at this chart was stellium up there in the 11th house with the moon and Neptune and the North Node. And to me, that is exactly what you were just saying about the ending and the beginning being right there. I mean, we are ending the cycle, Neptune in Pisces, and we are ending a sense of self. The moon is culminating with Neptune. They're actually moving toward each other. And yeah, my guess is by the eclipse, they'll be touching. The new cycle will have started.
Moon and the North Node. Yes, because Moon is going to ingress into the sign of Aries the same, well, on the 18th for us, but for people who are going to be experiencing the eclipse on Wednesday the 18th, for you, Moon is going to ingress into the sign of Aries the very same day and conjunct North Node.
Yes. So this is what it would look like, that we're ending a cycle of who we are, our identity, who we see ourselves as is ending, and a new identity is beginning. Which is really interesting. I know from my own life that is certainly happening for me. And yeah.
And for me, I mean, Mars is conjuncting my natal moon.
Wow.
Squaring the nodes, pointing to the North Node in Aries. So I think this is an energy, however it's showing up in people's chart, everybody's got Mars in Cancer. So whatever are your natal placement, Mars is in Cancer. So this is showing up for literally everyone, that we, because Mars is the skip step pointing to the North Node in Aries, ruled by Mars, and because of the stellium, between Pisces and Aries North Node, everything is impacted by this Mars, even though it's technically only squaring the nodes, but it's it's impacting the stellium. Everybody is going through this, and it's showing up in individual's life in whichever way it's showing up. That obviously is unique to the individual, but the old versions of ourselves are being challenged, because there are aspects of ourselves that no longer are a frequency match to the times ahead. And this is why this Mars squaring the node is pointing to the North Node in conjunction with the eclipse, which is saying that the past is becoming fully illuminated to show us what are these aspects of ourselves. And again, we cannot necessarily rationalize it. We need to feel into it.
Yes. Yeah, Mars is in Cancer, a water sign, and the North Node is the moon, so it's also water, and it's also Mars is ruling the North Node. So yeah, there's a lot of energy linking us to feeling into our emotional field and shifting that North Node in Aries. Something new. So, but then again, we're squaring that South Node as well.
Yeah, of course.
So there's this back and forth energy where we'll be experiencing old and trying new, and eventually, hopefully, it'll make a click.
And I'm pretty sure it's gonna make quick but click by the new moon in Pisces, because by that time Mars will be actually trining it. Mars will be trining, because Mars, by the time of the new moon in Pisces, which is when this cycle will end, because this is a midpoint, Mars will be back in Cancer, because we have Mars starting retrograde in December in Leo, then it's going to retrograde back into Cancer. So actually by the time of the new moon, which will not be an eclipse, the new moon in Pisces, which is that that interesting thing we got going on in the sky right now, that things don't quite make sense. Mars will be trining. It will be trining the new moon in Pisces, and by that time we know Pluto will be back in Aquarius for the next 20 years. So there will be definitely some happenings going on, whether internally or externally, but predominantly I would say internally for us between now and the Pisces season 2025.
Absolutely. Well, we'll be dissolving, you know, Pisces season will be completing that cycle and ready to start the new one just as the time we move into Aries.
Yeah.
So,
and Venus, as you already mentioned, the south node that is also playing the role because it's in opposition with the eclipse. Venus as the ruler is squaring Pluto.
yes.
And this is the closing square, and she's in opposition. She's opposition to Chiron, ruled by Mars, and she's squaring the Pluto. But this is the closing square, so this is about that crisis in consciousness.
Yes, and for that, it's interesting. I've been thinking about this a lot because this is about how we are, how it's about our values, and it's about how our values, our self-esteem is forming a balance with other people. Like coming from a place of codependency where maybe we've been self-sacrificing or all these things, but we're learning now with Venus and Libra to find a balance between our needs and the other needs, which with other people's needs. And I think that's a lot of what's happening now. We've had all these planets running through Taurus. You know, we started a new cycle at the beginning of the year. Everybody ran through Taurus. Uranus is still in Taurus, breaking apart these old values that we've carried. And we're beginning a new phase in our relationships where we're just seeking to find balance. And this is part of, and the square to Pluto is, this is where we're also taking responsibility for our own emotional needs. And so this requires a shift in belief. Is it that it's outside of us that should be controlling us, or is it from the inside? And so I think that's where this shift of beliefs is happening, and perhaps learning through the process of, you know, Venus being in Libra. I mean, it's been in Libra for a little while and it's going to be on its way out shortly, where we'll really get to confront things and deal with some deep hidden emotions.
Exactly. And I'm just like, it's just mind blowing. And I hope not to lose people, but Venus is on Gemini Decan. Mercury is on Capricorn Decan, and Uranus is also on Capricorn Decan. So we have this situation going on here with the 29 degrees of Pluto in Capricorn and Saturn Pisces, both retrograde, and Neptune also retrograde, participant of this eclipse, that there is this choice point. You know, with all this Capricornian energy and Uranus being in Capricorn Decan of Taurus, it's saying what we already know, that the structure of the reality is fractured, because it's no longer allowing for the needs of our needs and needs of the others to be fulfilled, because there is maybe 1% of population maybe whose needs are fulfilled and everybody else's isn't. So this is not very Aquarian, and it's also not also very Piscean in a higher vibration, right? Because it's the oneness and the wholeness and the unity consciousness. So with these planets and what they are actually like hiding, the secondary layer of the understanding with the decans, and also, you know, Jupiter now being already in Aquarian decan, which is about this breaking free. We need to make choices that will break us free from this matrix of enslavement. It's not like we always be part of it while we're here embodied, you know, we tapped into the matrix, but the way we're going to be experiencing the matrix will be very different, and it no longer will be from this place of disempowerment and enslavement, because we will know that we have the choice. We have the choice, but we don't know it, we don't feel it, we haven't embodied it yet. And
No.
this is also that Taurus, you know, and all these sextiles we had recently, you know, the first sextiles that were playing up in past few weeks. Now we have a lot of squares, but, you know, we had a lot of sextiles recently, about a month ago. It was all the first sextile, you know, which was the Taurian flavor, the first sextile, the first crescent. And this is about creating this new foundation, because we know that the foundation that we are currently experiencing, very few people's needs are met. And it's all about this, just like you said, sacrifice and people pleasing and codependency and stuff. And this is just not an Aquarian age quality. So this is why we're going through these dynamics at the moment.
Yes. And as you know, I've been talking about it a little bit for the last few weeks, but this trine between Uranus and Pluto is interesting. I'm just still stuck on it because the original conjunction, which happened in 1965 and 1966 in the sign of Virgo, was literally the beginning of us confronting this inequality, this hierarchy of human beings, and Uranus to break that apart. And so in 65, 66, we see the civil rights movement, we see the riots breaking out, Martin Luther King is killed. I mean, a whole bunch of energy is going to confront this issue. And Uranus hasn't moved very far, but we're to the point where we're breaking away from these particular values. And this links to what we were talking about with being equality. You're saying 1% has their needs met, and it's because there's this hierarchy that's been happening, and we've all been playing the game. You know, the 99% of the people are working and grabbing and fighting over scraps, while the 1% is, you know, they got 5 homes and however many ocean liners and private jets, and you know what it is.
Yeah, and this is what's creating the illusion of lack, where, you know, like, again, most of us, I can only speak for myself, but I heard a lot of people repeating the same story. We were being brought up with the idea that there is not enough to go by. You know, if you're gonna be rich, that means somebody has to be poor, somebody has to not have, you know. So there is this program that is telling us that there is not enough resources, so if somebody has, somebody can't have. If you have this man, that means somebody else can't have it, you know. So it's like, if you have this job, somebody else can't have it. But we, you know, if you look at it from the higher perspective, which again is not embodied, you know, it's easy to talk about these higher concepts, but we not yet embodied them, you know. And this is you know, this is what we're working on, especially now Mercury with Virgo, still in a Virgo season. This is what we're working through and working on, to actually learn to embody these higher truths, you know, Mercury being the ruler of Jupiter and the expansion of our consciousness. But we still, this is just a theory for us, because we see the manifestation of the past that is built on the beliefs of the past, which is this program, this story, not enough, you know, the hierarchical system. So this is what's fracturing at the moment, especially Uranus now on the Capricornian decan. This is what's fracturing, because we can see that there were things like, you know, during COVID, when these youngsters tapped into crypto and become millionaires overnight, kids that just smart kids from maybe disadvantaged families that were good at stuff, you know. And I might be talking out of my butt because I don't know much about it, but I know these things happened. So there was a huge shift of wealth due to unexpected occurrences, you know, that some people who were tapped in, you know, like, even they might have not been conscious of it, but they were following their gut, their intuition, and they cash up on it. And then they were laughing, you know. I'm not saying that they still have the money, but we can see how that those stories we were being told, they are not true. And there are and have been glitches in the matrix that are proving that. So it's just the point of bridging the gap between the past that we see manifested in totality and these visions and higher theories and higher truths which we have not yet embodied. And that's the function of the Virgo: bring in the spirit, the intuition, the consciousness into the body and into physical experience, so we can have a great life while incarnate. We don't have to suffer through it.
Yes. And the Mercury in Virgo is aligning our consciousness to that very thing.
Yeah, and it's having the square with Jupiter, right? It's coming into the square with Jupiter, and it's ruling Jupiter.
Exactly. And so it's interesting, this idea of intuition is a thing. You know, I've had experiences where I thought a particular scenario was going to happen. That was the intuition, and literally 2 days later it manifested like that. And so this, I've been looking at this, it's a set of tools that we're getting. We're learning Mars in Cancer to internalize our emotions, to be in control of our emotions, to bring that into ourselves. We're learning the art of intuition, and we're learning also to value ourselves differently. This is part of Uranus and Taurus, and then Venus has gone through the whole Taurus and picked up information about valuing what our true purpose is and our joy and our inner child, and we've adjusted, and now we're bringing all of that into our relationships. And really all of these tools, our self-esteem, our ability to deal with our own emotions, becoming our own authority, and this increased leverage on our intuition. These are the tools that the next human's going to need, that we ourselves will embody as we move into this next age. Because in Aquarius, we're not going to have the external control. We're going to have these tools to be able to move forward. We're going to have to guide. Well, it's like internal sonar, like the dolphins have, you know, they know which direction to go. They've you know, got that intuition. Well, we have it too. It's just been sort of, it's not that it's been hidden from us. I mean, it has, but in the way that everything outside in the world is so loud. This is, you know, intuition is a very quiet response. It just sort of bubbles up from the inside. And with so much outer flashing lights, we just don't focus on that. We focus on the left brain stuff. And I think that this Jupiter in Gemini is this period of time where the ability for our brains to connect with the intuition is expanding. And when that happens, we'll be working with both sides of the brain. And I think that will change our perspective of how we see ourselves, how we see the world, how we see the other people, etc.
Yeah, and how we experience it. And it's not lost on me that I believe Saturn is stationing direct. I think I don't know if it's right before or right after Taurus full moon, but it's on that day, on the 15th. And also Pluto is going to move back into sign of Aquarius right after, on the 19th of November 19th. So this Taurus plays a very important role because it is the foundation of the new, you know, like I always say to my clients, you know, because I feel the Taurus is very, not necessarily undervalues, and I'm obviously a little bit biased because I am Taurus, but people usually just like when Taurus comes into conversation, people perceive, oh yeah, somebody who is lazy, slow, you know, just likes their comfort zone and the good things in life and stuff. But from the evolutionary astrology, and when we look at it as a, you know, natural zodiac, the Aries is the sparkle of something new, you know, is this new something that is coming through to be manifest. But Taurus is the foundation. If you don't have the foundation, it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to go any further than that. You know, it's just the spark of inspiration. But if you don't grab it and ground it and put it into earth, it's just going to go flush down the toilet. You know, it's like never been here, right? So this is why I feel that this, and, you know, obviously prior to North Node in Aries, we had the North Node in Taurus, which is saying that we are at the moment building the foundation of this future, just like you said, that going forward, the future human that already, you know, we are being transmutated into future human through all these solar flares and portals and everything that's going on this planet at the moment at this fast frequency, which is why so many people are tired, because the body is trying to recalibrate this much faster pace and way of existing on this planet, because everything is speeding up and it takes time. And this is
Yes.
also why we need to have the grace and self-compassion, self-acceptance, and also the self-nurture for ourselves to be able to, you know, to do this transition safely, you know,
Yes.
to not cause
Yes.
ourselves harm, because again, we were being conditioned that we need to keep going, doing, regardless of season or whatever. For us female cycle, nobody cares if, you know, are you on your cycle? Nobody cares, you know, like, oh, you need to show up for work and do your job, right? But this is not how nature is designed. And obviously staying with you in this nature, you can see it, how the seasons are changing, how the trees are shedding already their leaves, and none of this tree is worried that, oh, is there another spring coming, will my leaves be back, you know? Like, they know that there is a season where things are going to slow down, and it's going to be about this, you know, like we were talking about parasympathetic nervous system, the you know, this rest and recuperation and digestion.
Recuperation. Yeah.
And this is literally what we need to learn to balance in our life, because at the moment, just like you said, the intuition is very underdeveloped. It's not hidden, it's underdeveloped, because the way that we were being programmed to exist in this reality is not based on that. So that's
Right.
why we didn't need to hone that skill, because it was not valued. We would not get our cookie or our grades if we were acting on intuition, you know. This is
Right.
not something that this current educational system supports, because it would give us too much power that they can't control, right? So yeah, so we are
Exactly.
awakening to all of these things, and it's time to start asking questions. How did we get to this point, and why?
Yes. And yeah, when, what is the lesson, and how do we reapply balance in
Well,
equality?
we need to go back to the roots, back to the
Yep.
foundation, Taurus.
Taurus, the body. It's all
Yep.
in the body.
All the answers lie in the body. But again, we were being learned to go and seek the answers outside of us, which is why we have the South Node in Libra.
Yep. Exactly. Yes, and the healing, the Chiron is in Aries, you know, this is how we're going to heal this wound, is to link to the body, link to our emotions. Instead of running from our emotions or projecting them outside, we internally deal with our emotions. And that's a big lesson for me as a person that has Mars in Cancer retrograde. It's the lesson that I'm learning.
So you're having a Mars return.
I am having a Mars return. And I'm not sure how, do you know how far Mars is going to progress before it retrogrades?
Oh, it's gonna go all the way to Leo, early degrees of Leo.
Okay. But it's not then going to go all the way back to my Mars.
I can tell you how far is it going to go in Cancer when it retrogrades, because it's going to, but I very much don't think it's going to go all the way to 7 degrees.
I don't think it's going to go all the way back, but it's supposed to be several months in Cancer.
Yeah, about approximately 5 to 6 months, because now it's there until November. Between November and January, it will be in Leo, and then between January and April, it will be back in Cancer. It will not ingress back into Leo until April. So it's going to be a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. How far is Mars going to retrograde? Only 17 degrees.
Okay.
So you're not going
I didn't think it would go back. It doesn't, it's not one of the planets that does the 3 times over. That tends to be the
yeah, like a Mercury.
Yeah.
Or even, you know, obviously Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, then usually, I mean, if people are having Pluto square, they might even get as many as 5 or 6 hits, you know.
Exactly.
But you're getting at least 3 hits, but you might get 5.
Right.
So it is pretty intense with these, especially the outer planets. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I find that Venus is really important in this chart, Jupiter is important in this chart, and Mars is important in this chart. And both, I think, isn't it both Jupiter and Mars are square the nodes?
By the stellium, yes. I mean, Mars is squaring the nodes and Jupiter is squaring the eclipse, but because the stuff in Pisces and Aries is in a stellium, so
Yes.
all these planets are interconnected by the stellium, even though
Yes.
it's out of sight stellium. Technically, both Mars and Jupiter are squaring everything because of the stellium, even though if you want to go at it logically, Jupiter is squaring the eclipse and Mars is squaring the nodes.
Yes. Yep. So I think these are very important. And then if you see, there's a finger of God formation with
Here we go.
Venus.
There's the star.
There it is. And it's linked with the closing of the old identity and the breaking free of, the value system. We have to change our values. We have to change that whole energy of the hierarchy, because all life on the earth is valuable. It all has equal value. It may not be the same, but it all has equal value. And we haven't been taught that. We're taught, oh, kings and queens and presidents and CEOs and all of this are the most important. And that's just not the reality.
Well, even the CEOs needs to eat and use the washroom, so somebody needs to clean it. And if it gets stuck, some plumber needs to unstuck it, because otherwise, what we will do, right?
Right. So I think that this closing cycle, the sextile between Neptune and the moon, is really going to help us find balance. It's letting go of this identity that we have that we're less than, the opposite of the moon, Virgo, right? That we're not perfect, that there's something that's wrong, that's keeping us in our whatever station we have, or whatever, however we're seeing ourselves. And we're breaking free of this pattern of values. And as that happens, we'll start to really value ourselves. And this is what we're learning through Venus, through Libra, learning to value ourselves so that in our relationships, we can seek balance. And that's not an easy lesson. It's not been an easy journey for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, and this is so perfect because I literally just given a reading where this was the main topic of the conversation. And the core message from the whole thing, from the whole topic, was that we came here to be exactly as we are, with regards to what we look like, what religion, what culture, color of skin, whatever, all our little imperfections and nuances. This is the perfection of the embodiment, the spirit, the what you look like, where you were born, who you were born to, everything was perfectly decided by the spirit. There is no coincidence in any of these accents. Nothing was random and nothing was accident. The spirit, like consciously with the higher intelligence, which is beyond our way of understanding, decided these things because they were exactly perfect, how do you say, mix of elements to create you, perfection, that needed to be exactly who you are, for the spirit to grow, evolve, and experience exactly what the spirit of the soul, your own soul, your higher self, wanted to experience. But then we put into the human body and into environment with all its rules and beliefs and program that tells us, oh, we should all look like this, and we should all speak like this, and behave like this, and believe this, and all this. Not oneness. This is the cookie cut, the cookie cut copy paste, which is very much against Leo and Aquarius, because Leo is authenticity, Aquarius is sovereignty, individuation, and freedom, right? So this is where we see the in conjunction, the conflict, the Venus in Libra. I want to belong. I'm born into the world where I know to survive, I need to connect. But the world is telling me who to be, which is not necessarily who I am. And then I feel alienated and I either feel alone or I need to suppress who I am and become codependent and stuck. and hide who I am, which then these needs become distorted, or I become sick, or I eat myself into protection. You know, this is why so many people struggle with weight gain at this time, because they're trying to protect themselves against the world that cannot, that doesn't want to accept them for who they are. So this is literally the totality of manifestation of all this pain, all this pain of humanity that came from this disconnection and the need for survival. Taurus, this is all Taurus, because we came to have a human experience, and we were being told that that perfection of the spirit's plan, what was not what the world considers perfect. And this is the Virgo, this is the wound of the imperfect human self that is actually perfect. We just don't see it as such.
Yeah. And part of that is the square to Capricorn. We just have to take control of our own reality. We have to make our own boundaries when it comes to dealing with other people, with, I mean, anything outside the self. But we're from a point of equality and balance.
Yeah, because it doesn't, and you and I, we had this conversation multiple times since I arrived, that it doesn't make that person wrong or you wrong to believe something different. It just means that you have the right, and that person also has the right to be and believe whatever the hell they want, for as long as either party doesn't try to force that other person to be like them. So this is where the problem begins. But the problem is not in diversity. You know, diversity is exactly what the soul wants, what the universe wants. The universe wants diversity, because, you know, why would universe want 8 billion people doing and looking exactly the same and thinking and believing the same thing? That would make no sense, right? So diversity is not a problem. Diversity is welcome. Diversity is Sagittarius, is the expansion, you know, is the freedom. The problem is when you know, we become dogmatic, and we believe that my truth is the only truth, and we don't understand the mutability of Sagittarian archetype, which is saying that, well, it's a subjective perception of reality, you know, like that's your truth, that's my truth, and we perfectly right to believe whatever we believe, for as long as we're not making somebody else to believe the same thing and imposing our will onto the will, and try to create the hierarchical separation and division.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like this period of time where we're healing these inner wounds, we're building up our own esteem, and it's almost like I think, did I say this last time? Like we're all lining up in the chutes, and then the gates are gonna open. I've said it in
and we go
some
running,
conversation.
Right?
We're like getting our ducks in a row, getting control of ourselves, and yeah. And then the magic starts to happen.
Yeah, and I really, it's just so, I mean, it is such a contrast in reality from the one that we are experiencing, manifesting, and the one that actually already coexists but is not yet manifested. But in our heart, those of us who are open and willing and ready to receive the alternative, we already know it exists, we already can feel it, we already know that. We don't know how the hell we're gonna get there from A to B, we don't know how we're gonna get there, but we know it already exists, because it feels aligned. Just like, you know, thousands of years ago, decapitating people in front of the Tower Gate and thinking that's entertainment, that was normal, and it was what people were in alignment with. That's fine, you know, there is no need to judge that, because that was the level of human collective consciousness. You know, we can have our opinion about it, but that was what was normal back then. But right now, this experiencing of reality that coexists in this world at the moment, and it's in majority at the moment, it is no longer in alignment. And that's why when we tune in and vision this different reality, it feels aligned. And this is why so many people are grabbing for that vision, because they know that, oh yeah, this is what is in resonance with what I'm here for.
Yes. And this is part of the intuition. We can feel it. There's an
Exactly.
inner knowing. We may not be seeing it out of our eyes, but it's the right brain. You know, this is the third eye that can see it.
Exactly, the extrasensory. Yeah, and this is the Jupiter Mercury square the crisis in action, we have to go beyond. We have to go beyond because both Jupiter, Mars, you know, obviously Mercury too, but Jupiter, Mars are in this new phase with Uranus in Taurus, the fracturing of the reality, the tangible reality, and going beyond that.
Yes. Yeah. So I like to say, yeah, this is the time where we get to create our own reality. You know, what do you want it to look like?
Exactly. And it's just gonna get better, you know. I mean, we have this eclipse in Libra coming up next, which we'll talk about next time, which is the seeding of the new relational paradigm. And then as we keep going forward into the 2025, we'll have the, you know, new moon in obviously Scorpio first, but new moon in Sagittarius, new moon in Capricorn, you know. So there are all these lunations that step by step with every next lunation will be building new blocks. We'll be having the opportunity to put the new block, the new layer onto this, what we are creating, and eventually we will see manifested.
Yes. Yep. So in the meantime, we got to do the inner work. Mars is in Cancer, y'all.
And it will be there for a while, so we're
And
not
it's
being
going to be there. I mean, it gives us time. You know, this is not something that can be rushed through.
No, and I mean, the nodes are moving into Virgo Pisces for 18 months from January 2025, so we're not rushing nowhere, you know, like
No,
we
no,
have
no.
time.
We do have time, and we'll have a few months with the Mars square in the nodes, giving us a chance to get that into order. But literally, you know, it's the North Node in Aries.
And we'll have quite a few months with Mars opposing Pluto.
Yeah.
So that
Well,
will be
there
the
you go.
balancing.
That's the integration. When we get there, that's the integration of this internal and external control. It's like that's the completion of we'll be strong in ourselves, we'll be able to control our own environment, inner environment, and we'll have the proper protections and the ability to be our own authority at the same time. And that's what we're looking for, because that's where we find the equality, when we can all do that. Yeah.
And with the Aquarius and Pluto in Aquarius, and from Pluto moving back into Aquarius, we'll be seeking people who have done the same work. And there is no judgment. It doesn't mean that other people are at wrong. It just means that the more we individuate, the more we will understand who am I frequency match to and who not, without judgment. It's like live and let live, but it's about connecting with the people that you belong with, not trying to push yourself where you don't belong with, and then you feel misfit and disempowered and drain of energy. But actually, the more people do the inner work and start valuing themselves, accepting themselves and valuing themselves, and opening themselves up to receiving the abundance of any shape and form, because the abundance is not just money.
No.
that's just the one that Matrix, we all in Matrix agreed upon, that this is how we see it, but this is not all the forms of abundance. So anyway, the more people will be attracted and connected with people who are alike, and then the energy will multiply, because the more people will put into the same pot, the more the pot will expand, and eventually we will become a majority, even though now we might feel that it's hopeless because we are minority. But when the frequency is high, you don't need 50-50.
That's true.
You only need 30-70. Yeah, you only need 30-70, because the higher frequency has much more impact. So we only need 30% of population to be on board for the change to really, really shift, you know, for things to really, really shift.
Yeah.
And apparently we're very close.
Yeah, I would imagine that we're close. I mean, we're going to shift. There's just no question about that. There's my intuition. I just, you know.
Oh, for sure, because we know a lot of souls are exiting. So eventually the numbers are going to shift too.
Yes, there's that way as well. Yeah.
Wow, you see, we had nothing to say.
I know, went a whole hour anyway, huh?
And then things just but this is what I really feel, that the spirit is just like you know, the spirit is giving us the nudge, and then it's, you know, just like they say, when you when you make this step towards the universe, it makes 10 steps towards you or something like that. So the
Oh,
spirit is
yeah.
like, no, I'm not going to do it for you. You need to learn to do it yourself. But when you're on your way, I'll help you. But I'm not going to do it for you. You need to do it yourself. But when you walk in, I'll support you in your on your journey. So that's what I feel, that it really, we are afraid to step into the unknown because it's the
Yes.
unknown. And like, what if I fall? What if I fail? What if this? What if that? Right? The projection of the past. However, if you do try, there is always, and especially if it's in alignment with what you want, there is just these weird synchronicities and people coming and this happening and whatever. And it's just things just line up like a magic.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that too.
So yeah, believe in your magic, right?
Believe in your magic. That's what I say. That is. I believe.
Well, I mean, living where you live, I am not surprised. It's easier to believe in magic surrounded by nature than concrete.
Yeah, well, that's true. I
Yeah.
mean, I wish we had a little magic to bring us some rain.
Oh, I did my best.
It's coming. We'll get it. I see clouds.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of when.
Wonderful. Do we have anything else to add, Adrienne?
No, we're just, I just say stay open, love yourself, be kind to yourself, get rest if you're tired, drink water if you're thirsty, eat some fruit, do those things to take care of yourself. Really see that you are an important being, and even if you've had troubles and misfortune and all of that, there's something very important just for the fact that we're all here, and to understand that in our relationships we are equal. We're not the same, but we are equal. And I think that's the biggest lesson that's coming to us. And part of those, yeah, I'm just reiterating myself. Part of that is these tools that we've already been given. They've just been not exercised. So we're working on exercising those tools, our intuition, our inherent purpose. Each of us has our own purpose and way to get there, way to validate ourselves, and then our inherent value. And I think that if as many of us can gain hold of those tools, that, we can say goodbye to the outer authority. We'll be on our way to being able to control our own reality and create the kind of world that we want to live in.
Hmm. Yeah, there are just three sentences that came to me. The first one was just, like just to underline what you said. Everybody's needed. If you weren't needed, you wouldn't be here. Okay. Universe doesn't waste energy. Everybody's needed, so don't think small.
No.
Then the other thing was that nothing lasts forever. So whatever is going on, nothing lasts forever. Don't worry. The change is coming either way, whether we are in the top, whether we are at the bottom, whether we are halfway, nothing lasts forever. So this is another thing which is nature reminds us of all the time, all the time, that nothing lasts forever. And I really feel that the way forward is to start trusting the invisible more than you trust the visible, because this is the way
Mm.
forward. Start to believe in the invisible and trust the invisible. Because what is the difference to have a human boss or to work for the spirit? The only
Ah,
difference is the form, right?
that is
Right. So this is
beautiful.
what
I
I
love that.
feel, that these are important aspects to consider. You are needed, nothing lasts forever, and it's time to start trusting the invisible more than we trust the visible.
You're here
And you're good.
and you're good. Yep. Yep. That's the new way forward.
Yeah. Well, we are strong creators, so whatever you believe, you will manifest. So why believe the things I don't feel good about?
If for real. I hear that. Here, I'm going to stop this share. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Your house is magic, Adrienne. Energy
Well,
flows
thank
good
you.
here.
Yay. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
especially
glad
with
you're
my
here.
spirit guide. There he
Oh,
is.
oh, the wolf.
Yeah, the wolf. That's my spirit guide. So I'm
Yep.
right at home with my wolf.
That one right there looks a lot like Blue as well.
Well, that's why Blue and me have a connection. That Blue
Yeah,
is Adrienne's wolf.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Blue eye.
So this has been a pleasure under your
Yes.
roof. Thank you very much for welcoming me in your home.
Oh, you are. I'm so happy you're here. We're about to have some fun
Yeah,
now that the work
absolutely.
is subsiding.
And yeah, the eclipse is knocking on our door and subsequently the equinox as well. So we're going to have a little bit of a witch get together.
That's what's about to happen. Yeah.
We're going to cook up some magic for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Now is the time. I mean, the whale is never as thin as full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. I mean, it doesn't get, and maybe new moon solar eclipse in Pisces, but I mean, we work with what we've got. And I think this is quite a good one to connect with the spirit for sure.
Right. Right. Well, we're always connected to spirit anyway. Sometimes we just forget.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Those were the good words of wisdom as a parting message. But yeah, before you go, Adrienne, just remind people where to find you.
yeah, you can find me. I have a Substack account and a website at JessKieranAstrology.com is where you can hit my website, and you can reach my Substack through there. I'm also on Facebook at Jess Kieran Astrology, and just reach out.
Absolutely. And yeah, let's connect. Let's make this world a better place.
Yeah.
Awesome. So thank you very much. Thank you, Adrienne, and thank you everybody who tuned in. I hope that you found some value in these messages that came through, and enjoy the eclipse season, and we'll see you again for the next one. Much love, everyone, and bye for now.
Bye.